Part 2 of the Awabaka podcast. It's called a Wobble Pod with the one, the only, the great man himself, Connor Watson. Welcome, brother. How are you?
Hey, Kaz, how are you? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. Look, I suppose today what we're going to tell our community and our members about is, let's know a little bit about Connor Watson. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your past, your experiences, and what led you to have a career in professional rugby league, bro.
Yeah, can't wait, Owen. It's good to... I haven't seen you in a minute. How you been? You been good?
Good, bro. I'm fresh, bro. I'm down 20 kilos, got the blonde hair. I'm fresh, Carl. I'm fresh.
You look sharp, bro. You look sharp.
So we'll start with this one, Connor. I suppose, we'll start with this question, bro. We'll, I suppose for all the young kids out there that, that we look after in the community, in the Wabaka country, what do you have for breakfast, bro? Tell us what Connor Watson has for breakfast.
On training days, I usually just have some granola, fresh fruit, and a bit of yogurt. That's usually how I start when I'm training. And then it's a bit hard at the moment because normally if I got a day off, I might go out for brekkie and just get some, scrambled eggs, bacon and that. But I've been having to do more cooking, so I haven't been that creative yet.
That's a good thing, brother. So where did you grow up, bro? Tell us a little bit about where Connor Watson grew up.
Yeah, I was born in Dubbo, moved to Avoca Beach on the Central Coast when I was young. I was like 4, and then grew up on the Central Coast there. Played all my junior footy on the Central Coast.
Who was the club you played with down there?
Beg pardon?
Who was the junior club that you played with?
I played for Kincumber Colts. That's where I played most of my junior footy, so it was good. We had a pretty handy side, but I actually where I went to school, I played with the boys like the Safidi twins, Tommy Starling, who's down at Canberra. So I went to St Edwards until year 10, and that's a pretty handy sporting, more of a rugby league school. So I found that sort of helped me out going there, and playing with the sort of best kids on the coast was good.
Yeah, the Safidi boys, were monsters back then too in school, or what?
Yeah, they were, mate. I used to verse them in club footy, and I was playing fullback at the time, and I knew every time we versed them, like they'd make line breaks, so it was always up to me to try and stop them one-on-one. Just hit them right around the ankles, but it was good.
Listen, so what was your childhood like, bro? You said you grew up on the Central Coast, you were born out of Dubbo. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, I think I was very lucky in that sense, Owie. I had a great childhood. I think growing up in Avoca near the beach is something that I'm very grateful for. It's a bit different to probably how my cousins had it out Dubbo, but
Tinga, creeks with no water.
I'm not mad about mum and dad moving there, but it was good. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to go to a pretty good high school there, Eddie's, and then sort of went to Knox Grammar for year 11 and 12, and I really enjoyed just growing up around the beach and being healthy and active. I think that was the biggest thing. I remember I had so much sport on as a kid. I didn't really have time to get myself into trouble or go off the path too much because I had to be here for training, there for touch, there for OzTag.
And that's a good thing too. Mum and dad keeping you busy,
100%. I mean, for them to do that for me, they had to sacrifice a lot, like driving from A to B for training, for me and my brother as well. And but I guess that's why I'm here today. Definitely one of the biggest reasons. And
that's a very good point there too. Because mum and dad, for their kids to have a better life in sport or just in life in general, you have to make sacrifices. You know what I mean? And that's very important that you say that, Connor. So look, Connor, what was your best memory of your childhood?
I think for me, my best memory of my childhood, I've probably got a few, but in Avoca, when it rains, the oval gets real muddy.
And you run down, you're sliding and jumping around. It's every kid, mate, it was mad. It was awesome.
So good. So this is when I was at primary school, and if we were there and it was raining, we'd all tee it up. There'd be about 20 of us kids run down the oval straight after school and then just play mud footy for, 2-3 hours. And
I'll ask you this question, bro. Who did you think you were when you were playing in the backyard? Who was me? I was either Freddie Fittler or one of the Alexander boys, who were you thinking you were playing footy in the backyard?
Because I was a fullback when I was growing up, so I used to think I was Billy or Matty Bowen. They were the two guys that I looked up to. But then I was a Knights fan as well, always. So I love Joey and Gids and that. So.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome, brother. So, what led you to have a career in professional rugby league? What happened? What gave you the opportunity? What led you to fulfil that dream? Was it it started as a dream and you turned it in reality?
Yeah, definitely. Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to be an NRL player. I don't have conversations with my nan, and she reckons, as a 6 or 7 year old, I was telling her that, and I was a Knights fan, so I used to tell her that I was going to play for the Knights when I was older. And,
that's mad.
It's pretty cool. You sort of, you know what it's like. You get caught up, and then when you sort of take a step back and look at what you've actually done, it's pretty. Yeah, cool thing to see it actually pay off. But I think the biggest thing for me, Owie, was just I wasn't the best kid as in talent-wise, but I was always one of the hardest working kids. I had a bit of talent there. Like, you got to have a bit, but then I think for me it was just the hard work that sort of propelled me to play first grade and probably to play it so early. I didn't expect it to come. When I was at the Roosters, I debuted when I was 19, and I always thought I was going to play, but I thought I might have been like 21, 22 when I finally got my chance, but
put the hard work in, you put the effort in, and that's a very valuable point, you know what I mean? Like, the best players that I've ever played with weren't the ones with the ability, you know what I mean? Like Danny Badiris, we used to call him Jake the Snake, and all of a sudden he had he went from training his butt off to being the best hooker in the world, and you look at Kirk Gids, like, these blokes were your best trainers, they done everything. They done all the 1%ers at top notch, and that's a very important point, that you don't have to really have ability, you just got to have the dedication and support from your parents like you did and your grandmother, and then, you had these dreams and you were talking about, so I think that's a really good point, brother. So listen, what does a typical day look like for Connor Watson when you're training?
It's all sort of changed at the moment just because of the whole isolation thing, but tell us what it was like before COVID-19 and tell us what it's like now. Yeah, well, so we used to get up here, say 6 o'clock, and then just head down to Newey Beach. Me, Kalen, would usually meet a couple of the boys down there, go for a swim, and then just have a coffee just before training, and then get into training about 7 o'clock, have a feed like the granola and that I was telling you about before. Yeah. And then go from there. And
is that where I've seen? Is it Blue Door? Is that where you go?
Yeah, some of the boys go to Blue Door. We like going to Newey a little bit. It's a bit quieter, but you always see Gibbsy down there. He's always down there. He loves Blue Door. Yeah. He does. So we'd go to there, go back to training, then just sort of get ready for the day, stretching, all your rehab stuff, and team meeting. Field would go for 2 hours, and then sort of finish, have lunch, and then it's usually straight into weights or wrestle. Yeah, it's full on. And then it's big days, especially in pre-season, and then you're sort of done around say 3 o'clock-ish, and then 3-4 o'clock-ish, and then usually home time, and rest up. Get ready for the next day. You're telling me about that, what you're doing, the day-to-day of Connor Watson training. Where do you have time for university, brother? Hey, where do you study? I was studying when I was at the Roosters, but that was half the problem, was I didn't find that I had enough time, and I had misses then too, so all my spare time was... you're single? You're single now? Spent on her. All them Dubai that in a Wabakal country, Connor Watson is single. Hit him up on Insta or Facebook or Twitter. There he is, the Golden Eagle. Hey. Yeah, sweet, bro. So what about COVID-19 now? What's training to look like now? The comp's going to start again. There's no crowds coming in. Does that affect you guys mentally and not having a crowd there? What's that look like for you guys? The crowd is different. I think it just feels like an under-20s game. Because I played when we had the NYC and it was before the NRL games. And to start with, the crowd wouldn't be allowed in for like the first 20 minutes. So you'd kick off and there'd be no one there. It'd just be the trainers and when we played at Leichhardt the other week, that's what it felt like. It just felt like the whole game was that. So there's a bit less intensity, I think, at the moment, just because you don't get the the intensity and steeliness and stuff from the crowd that you can hear. You can hear them when you're
Did it feel
defending.
Did it feel like a bit like playing in the Koori knockout for Walgett, and you're playing on the third oval down the back of Dubbo, and there's 8 people watching you?
Yeah, just a little bit like that. But it's weird because it just doesn't feel like you're playing a proper game, but you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So listen, who was your role model when you were growing up? It doesn't have to be a footballer, but who was the one person in your life that you look back and you go, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here?
Definitely mum and dad. They were the biggest role models for sure. Just like I said, the sacrifices they made so I could go to training. And like my dad sort of pushed me to, do extra stuff and get fitter, and like he'd help me and take me down to the oval and run me around. And at the time I hated it.
Yeah,
I hated doing it, and I was like, why are you doing this? But I think what it did was it instilled a work ethic in me that just to sort of go over and beyond of what you're doing anyway.
And it shows when you play too, bro. It shows when you play, you're a little competitor. Remember I sit back there with a couple of boys, like me, Groves and Leo, and a few of the old blackfella there, the Knights boys, and we're thinking, this kid can play, and they come up, he's a blackfella. We're like, we need him in Newcastle. Any blackfella that comes on the market now, we want him in Newcastle. But it doesn't happen that way, But no, it was massive for the community, bro, when the Knights signed you. I'll tell you that right now, because you come from the Roosters, you were 5'8" hooker or 14 off the bench, and you were killing it, And you brought that same enthusiasm here to this community, bros. What's it like playing in front of the crowd at Newcastle? Describe what it's like.
You know firsthand, it's a good crowd, Like the fans are so passionate. I think compared to the Roosters at the time, we weren't getting that many.
How do you work it out? The Roosters won 4 comps and lucky to get 4,000 people at a game. We get 4 wooden spoons and get 20,000 every game,
That's what I couldn't believe. Like the year before I come, the Knights were struggling, but they were getting 20,000 to every game.
Always.
And then when I was at the Roosters, we made the semi-finals, and it wasn't until the semi-finals we started packing the stadium.
And what you realise in that, everyone in Newcastle loves to win a comp, but all they worry about in Newcastle, they love their football that much. As long as you have a dig, as long as you have a go, they're happy with that, And this is rugby league heartland. So your mum and dad, were your role models growing up. So what are your thoughts on Aboriginal health and some of the challenges that our people face right across this country, bruh, when it comes to health concerns?
I think obviously we're faced with a lot more challenges than other people are. I think the biggest thing, is just trying to be resilient and building that resilience. I know because I've started doing work in the mental health space side of things with the charity that me and my parents started, and you look at, I lost my cousin to youth suicide, and you look at the rates and they're obviously alarming, but the biggest thing for us is we just need to build resilience, and I think that's done through connection to culture, being proud of yourself and who you are. And the hard thing for us is we've lost a lot of that, so that's why I think you see that the rates and all the figures are so high
in our people.
So I think it's sort of up to people like us to drive the pride and self-worth of some of these young kids and adults. Everyone goes through it, and I think in that particular space, it's not just the Indigenous problem, but it's a world problem as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously it affects us worse than it does to other people from different backgrounds.
So listen, look, when you go into these Indigenous All-Star camps, what's that week look like? What sort of stuff are you doing there? Let all these young boys and girls, let these kids know when you go to camp, because you talk about culture, you talk about, identity, you talk about community, and I'll see what you guys do for that whole week. Just tell us a little bit about what happens, bro.
Yeah, it's a mad week that. This is my first one this year. I've been to a few camps before over weekends, and every time I've gone down, it's just mad to sort of be in camp with all the boys and we get on like everyone gets on like a house on fire. So that's always good fun. But I think the biggest thing to take out of those weeks is learn more about our culture. For me, especially, I learnt so much this year in camp, and being proud as well. I think that's the biggest thing. Like at the start of the week, I was at shame, and then by the end of it, I was there doing shake a leg, and yeah. So, and that's probably up to us to drive and to be proud of. So then people who watch us and see how proud of our culture we are, then they're going to be proud and not shamed to go and show off, what they know
confident
and
in
how
themselves.
they can dance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's deadly, bro. That's mad. Now, listen, how do you stay focused and resilient?
For me,
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is being probably grateful.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's easy to get caught up in what's happening in your life and obsessing over little problems that at the end of the day probably aren't that big. So I think the biggest thing for me is just when I'm going through tough times like that, is just to take a step back and look at how lucky I am and how grateful I am. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah,
Gratitude for sure.
So listen, Connor, do you see yourself as a role model for younger Indigenous kids?
Yeah, definitely, Owie. I think it's my duty as being a person in the limelight, an Indigenous person in the limelight to do so. I feel like if I wasn't doing that, it's probably just a waste of an opportunity to be able to go and promote change and good change for our people, and be someone who people would strive to be like. At the end of the day, there's only a certain amount of people that get to play NRL, so I think it's I look at it as my duty to go and do that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, bruh, just before we finish, there's 24,000 blackfellas live in this community. We all love you, cuz. We all cheer for you when you come out of here, and what you're doing is amazing work, and we thank you for doing the work that you do and coming on this podcast, because we were 9,500 followers on Facebook, and we get to reach a fair bit of people in this community, and if there was one piece of advice that you could give to the Indigenous youth in the community, brother, what would it be?
It'd be find what you're passionate about and work hard for it. I think too many people are in a rush to sort of settle into something. I think if you're not enjoying what you're doing, go and find what you're passionate about, and when you do find that, don't give up on it and just keep working hard for it until you make it happen.
Yeah, beautiful. There you go, my people. You're chilling with the big OC and Connor Watson, the boy from the coast, the country, from country to coast. That's him there, Connor. Thank you very much for your time, bro. We really appreciate it. And go the Mighty Knights. Keep
Thanks
digging in and
me,
having fun, bro. And I'll see you soon, bro. Take it easy, my man.
Appreciate ya.
See you, Uncle.